As you know from this setup, we are talking about your career adventures and how to think about the idea of shifting from this idea of career path to career adventures. If life / your career is an adventure, here's my first question to all of you, as we've only got, what is that, 367 people. Kylie and Kelly, you are off the clock on this one. Is I would like you to all share what adventure you are on. And what I mean by that is, like, like you signed up to come to this show because there is something in your life that you are wanting to shift professionally. So either you are looking for a new job, or you're wanting to pivot your career, or you just got a new job, or something's going on. And so I'm curious, and it's good to say this out loud, as to what's going on in your world. So Trish, I know you are familiar with the Joanna plan. So what adventure are you on today?
I am looking for a new job, as well as possibly pivoting during that job search.
Oh, awesome. And Teresa? What adventure? We've got you on mute. Oh, and a bit stuck. We're not going to hear from you. Who else wants to shout out what their adventure that they're on?
I can share next. So I'm on a journey pivoting my career from science to business, more specifically marketing. That's I plan to pivot that within my organization first before I broaden my choices in the future.
Wow, that's a heck of a pivot. I love that. So from what could be described as the real to the imagined. I like that that path, and really great that you are testing out your adventure pivot within your company. It's some of the best places to do that. I know I've done that a ton in my own personal career. Nolan, what adventure are you on?
I want to think about long term for the 10 plus years ahead of me, and where I want to land, and see if I want to stay here, go back to Europe, go to another geographic zone, and what to do. There are so many things that interest me: edtech, govtech, fintech, financial inclusion. So I really get the concept of adventure, and I want to start preparing the big next adventure of looking ahead.
Yeah, do you mind if because I know you and I know each other a little bit, and I know how much you've invested personally on this particular question. Do you mind if I share a little bit of what I know?
Yes, just having in mind that if this is published, that the video is going live afterwards, I don't want to have too much going.
No, well, so I'm
live.
not going to give details on everything, but
okay.
I think what's worth sharing with everybody, and what I know about Nolan, because we met, I think, 3 years ago, when I think you were first experimenting in the space of really that question of who do I want to be when I grow up? And I know I came in and shook things up in a group that you were involved with. And what I think is impressive and really interesting about Nolan specifically is not only were you doing that 3 years ago, but I still see you through other organizations that we overlap with, continuing to ask that question about yourself.
Exactly.
And I think, this is when I sit here and I say, like, why have I gotten to where I am today? And when I look at other people that I just go, God, look at that, they are just crushing it. It is this constant curiosity about really the very simple question of who do I want to be when I grow up? I'm in British skin, I didn't see a lot of the sun. I'm in my 50s now, and I'm still Well, I'm not asking that question because I want to be Bette Midler when I grow up. And I just saw her on that new, The Politician TV show. And I'm like, she's still fabulous and I still want to be her and it's all good. So I'm going to continue down that path of growing up to be Bette Midler. But I do think, you know, we're often told we can't have that conversation and I think more importantly, invest in finding people and environments where you can really think about that, because this is the beautiful thing about living in a first world country and having the opportunities we do, even when the is hitting the fan kind of around us. It's a really great opportunity to ask those questions about yourself and explore it. And to the beautiful example that no one's done is this idea of you don't actually have to do it alone. So often that who is it you want to be when you grow up? Like, what is it you want to do? Where is it you want to go? Is such a solo question. And, you know, you think about the pressure that you have as a teenager, as an example, on what is the right question, and that complete myth that you need to have a right answer today is always super challenging. So as you're thinking about the question of what adventure do I want to be on as you're going through today's show and what you take from today, there's a couple of things I want you to remember. Is one, just, you might know what your answer is today to that question, like what adventure am I on and where am I going? But hold it lightly because you can always change it. And then two, that you don't have to be alone on this adventure. You can actually bring a lot of people along with you, and actually surrounding yourself with other people who question you, but do it in a way that helps you service you is always a really good idea. So surround yourself with what I call adventure guides to help you in that journey. And a couple of those, like I'm a big fan of finding people who are mirrors. And mirrors, you'll notice I don't say the word mentor anywhere along here because I think mentors, the definition of mentor has gone a bit sideways. But mirrors are people who hold mirrors up to you and kindly, but with clarity, tell you what their perspective is of what it is they see and what it is they hear. Now, this can do one of two things, because you've all heard my every decision made about you and your opportunities is made in a room that you're not in. You might have complete confidence and clarity about what it is you're sending out, but how what is it you are sending out is received is actually the bigger question. So do you have somebody who can hold up a mirror to you and go, look, this is what's getting received, and is that what you want to receive? The other person I'm a really big fan of surrounding yourself with is a potentialist, which is also a person, and if you've got a mentor in your life today, usually they can pivot, to being a potentialist. And what potentialists do is they look at who you are and what you're all about. So all of your ingredients, what are your experiences? Who are you as a person? How do you think? And they can look at them and go, gosh, this is what you could be. Now, what's difficult about the time right now is the who could you be is a bit vague, because the future is a bit weird and we don't know what it is. And so getting somebody who could say, well, you could be this or you could be that is really helpful. Like Quing, I think about your situation, like how do you find a potentialist who is in the market, the business and marketing space, and can really say, look, here's where specifically your science background could actually be an asset in the marketing background. Because especially for those of you that are on potentially, who are on a pivot adventure, your goal on that adventure is to help people understand how your experience in the past and all of the goodies that you have are actually unbelievably applicable in the future. And for those of you that believe that I can only do in the future those things that I'm certified for that I've certified myself for in the past, bunch of hooey. It's not actually true. Erin can probably tell you that I made up more nonsense professionally in the time that we worked together than I think a human being could. He made up a bunch of nonsense as well, although he was in the accounting department, so it was a little less of the nonsense. But life is about just leaning forward towards the unknown and really playing on the edges of what could be in the next phase. So really thinking about how do you bridge those two things. So that's where you come in on the adventure. I then say, okay, now that you're on an adventure, now that you've decided, look, the current state needs to change and we need to do something different. Where I then come back is, how are you going down that path, and why do I call this an adventure? Because the reality is you are all walking a tightrope. You're all on like a cliff edge of your adventure all the time. And I actually believe that instead of your career being this very linear up and to the right thing, that you should be managing your career more like a cliff edge. And yes, it's a little bit terrifying and scary and all of that good sort of stuff, but it's also when you're optimizing your best self. And what do I mean by these balances? So think about who you are and how you like to go through life. The two things that you are balancing at all times are safety and change. We all have that awesome lizard brain who's all like, I like to keep it safe. I like to keep things normal. I like to keep things average. No, thank you very much on the change world. But then we're also thinking human beings that like to do things and like to have things changed because we get bored, right? And so figuring out where is that right balance for you on how much of your world needs to be safe and how much of your world can be changed is really the ideal. And when you're looking, and you hear me say your world, really thinking about, gosh, if like, so Trish as an example is on I need to find a new job and potentially pivot at the same time. So professionally, her change world is super active. Well, then could she potentially say, look, my personal life, my friendships, all of my other stuff where I am spending my time, can I make that as consistent and change-free as possible so that the only coloring outside the lines, crazy stuff that's happening is in this professional world, and I have the energy to do so. Because if you're all change, you're going to be falling off the mountain. And if you're all safe, things aren't going to be very exciting. So the second thing you are balancing on this mountain range ridge thing is the fact that we all like to be recognized equally for how brilliant we are. And at the same time, we like to be recognized for what we really, really love to learn and do new things. This is the growth thing that I hear. Lots of people, when I talk to them, are like, oh, I want to grow. What you're telling me is I want to learn new things. Similarly, on that knife edge, your expertise and what it is you know, all of the things you've done in your past, do also support that concept of safety and security, but it's also, we want to be recognized for that. So while I'm always like color outside the lines, think about the new, don't let go of where your expertise and what it is you bring to the table, because that, like, doing work that actually matters for you is incredibly important. But also remembering that growth is learning. And I heard Gloria Steinem on a podcast yesterday, and she said, growth is about leaning into the uncomfortable and getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. And I was like, oh, yes, beautiful. Of course, Gloria Steinem saying something completely profound that I am in alignment with. But again, it's actually allowing both to exist at the same time. And I could go on. There's the balance of collaboration, so getting to do something with people, but then also the very valid and very okay sense of personal accomplishment. So are you looking at that balance? The balance of, and this is one of my favorites, and I give Mr. Simon Sinek credit for this one, but the balance of performance and trust. And this one I really challenge you on, because you think about like what is messaged to all of us about why you are awesome and what is the measure of success. and that message is performance all day, right? And yet, what is actually needed for you to be effective in the work that you're doing, and if you look at successful leaders across the board, they've actually built an entire stack of trust. And like you think about the quadrants of performance and trust, like nobody actually wants the low performance, low trust person, like no big surprise, right? But if you think about who is the person you would hire to do a job, how many of you would hire the high performance, low trust person? Nobody, right? You are much more likely to hire, engage, work with the slightly lower performance, high trust person every day of the week. Because it's the together part that makes it work. And then the last one is the confidence and curiosity, which you all should have in your workbook, which I am going to bring this up so that we can do this together. Because I think this one, when I think about really the adventure that you are on, is this beautiful balance between curiosity and confidence. And you think about, like, when are you your best self? And we've all had these moments in our career when we're like, this is awesome, and I'm on a really amazing adventure, and I'm having a blast, and I'm learning stuff, and all of my balances are good. It's usually because you are in what I call high curiosity state and high confidence state. So high curiosity is you are excited and interested about the work you are going to do. You've got projects that you're working on that are solving really gnarly, exciting problems. You're collaborating with people who are super smart, all of that good sort of stuff. High confidence is that space where you know that your expertise is not only useful for this future state, but also is regarded by other people as useful in this future state. And so that's kind of the ideal stuff. So the top right quadrant. And you think about what career journey you're on and the adventure that you're about to take. Not all of us are in that high state. I will absolutely say, well, I'm generally always in high curiosity. I can't help myself. But the high confidence thing does waver once in a while. So I slide along the x-axis quite a bit. But if you are low confidence and high curiosity, well, in that scenario, you are scared, right? Because if your confidence is low in a high curiosity state, you're actually a bit scared to move forward. If you're low curiosity and low confidence, well, generally you're stuck entirely and the path forward seems completely impossible. But if you're in high confidence and low curiosity, then you're probably bored. And so when I think about why and when somebody needs to say, okay, it's time to shake up the adventure, it's when you're scared, stuck, or bored, right? And how do you then start to optimize for the curiosity space? So and you'll notice that we've put this completely anonymous. So if you're sharing your answer, do not worry that I'm going to call you out. But which of the quadrants do you think you're in today? We've got 2 people that have voted. If you go to that slido.com link, I know Kylie's going to share it in the chat for everybody. We're going to get more votes, or are we all clicking on our phones to get the thing up? I promise you, I have no idea because it doesn't ask for your name. We've got lots of people in high confidence. Well, 3 people, a couple of people in high confidence, high curiosity. Yeah, so this is, and as you're looking at this, you're like, well, if everybody's on high confidence, high curiosity, why are you here? because you are about to head on an adventure that could make all sorts of fantastic things happen. Well, this is, and I'm guessing, Nolan, I'm going to use you as an example again, is because I've met her and I know this is true about her. She is high confidence and high curiosity about what she's doing. But the bigger question that you can ask in this space is that big, really rich and deep question of who is it I want to be? Oh, we've got nobody bored. Well, that's good to hear. But as you're thinking about this, is mapping this and to where it is and like, what is it you want to do? So here's my challenge for all of you as you're thinking about this quadrant. The reality is, as you well know, because every decision made about you and your opportunities is made in a room that you are not in, is the person who has a very large set of keys to your future is your boss. And for those of you that are looking for a new opportunity or don't have a job today, obviously this doesn't apply to you, but those of you that have a manager today, I challenge you to take this graphic, and you do not have to bring the pretty printed out version that we gave you, but just draw it on a piece of paper and just map out the confidence and curiosity thing and ask them where they think you are and see if what they think is your confidence and curiosity matrix is the same as what your confidence and curiosity matrix is. Because here's the other thing, that confidence and curiosity matrix is as applicable for you and your perception of what it is as it is for somebody else's perception of what it is. Like, I'd like you to take just a second and in your worksheet, right on the second graph, like where, if you're reporting into somebody today, where do you think your boss thinks your confidence and curiosity is? Because those of you, if you're, I'm guessing if you're on this call today, you are deciding to make some changes in your life. This is a very simple way of going to your manager and saying, hey, I want to have a conversation about my future, but not one that specifically comes out and says, I want a promotion or I want a raise or I want something else happening. Because right now I can tell you pretty confidently that any person who has people reporting into them, unless you are working in the handful of companies that are going absolutely nutsy cuckoo, and even then, if they're in a high growth spurt, there's not a lot of promotions and raises and all of that sort of stuff going on, that a lot of your bosses are going, oh, please God, I hope they don't talk to me about a promotion or raise, because there have been hiring freezes or there's been budget clampdowns. There's probably been some messaging from above that they are not allowed to talk to you about. And so coming to them and saying, I want a promotion or I want a change is probably, let's be empathetic for a second, going to send them into a bit of a tailspin because they're like, there's nothing I can do. What they can do is have a conversation about confidence and curiosity with you. So if you are in the state of high confidence, high curiosity, like, where are you curious? And what do you think you are confident about? And is that in alignment with your manager? And if you're in the low areas of everybody, having that conversation with them about, well, what is low? So if you're bored, I probably wouldn't walk in and say, gosh, I'm bored. And I don't think we had anybody on the survey results. But if you are bored, not coming in and saying, I'm bored, I need a new opportunity. Coming in and saying, gosh, boss, what do you think, looking at the future, are going to be the challenges a year or two out from now? Where do you think we're going to have to, like, we've already made probably a very big pivot based on everything that's happened over the last 6 months. Do you have any ideas about, you know, what the next 12 months are going to look like? And this is not a, what is the strategy 12 months from now, but what ideas, like what patterns do you as an expert in what you do recognize in the future? And it's starting to have those conversations now that will mean that you are now top of mind for when those conversations start to be activated. And for those of you that, so if you're low curiosity, that's where you can have a conversation. For those of you that are low confidence, like, what an amazing opportunity to have a conversation with your boss about really understanding where they see your value and hearing from them where they are confident in you. One of the most powerful things I think that anybody needs in their life is a bit of a chief belief officer, somebody who goes, look, this is where I have confidence in your future. Again, it's a bit of a potentialist as well, of which your boss should be one of them, but actually anchoring into hearing from somebody why you are actually awesome and what it is they value about you. Will be a fantastic exercise in seeing what they see from their perspective, but also giving yourself a really nice vitamin shot of confidence in the arm, because that's a really safe and easy conversation that you can have. So as you're thinking about like, where are you in that matrix, it can give you some really good guidance into what is the what next conversation for you. Now, for those of you that are on the job search or don't have a boss at the moment, this is where tapping into your mirrors and your potentialist and your amplifier and all of the people around you that understand who you are professionally, you can have those same conversations with them. I actually think for those of you that aren't on a career search, you can do this too, because you'll find that people who really care for your professional future, your fairy godmothers, having that conversation and setting it in the construct of confidence and curiosity really creates a safe space that allows them to have a very real conversation with not only who you are and why you're awesome, but what is their perception of you. You know, do this as many times as you want to actually move the bar in helping you to move into that top right quadrant of high confidence, high curiosity. And then for those of you that are in that quadrant and are looking to do the, well, who is it I want to be when I grow up? You're still, if you're in that conversation, in low confidence, low curiosity, well, you're low confidence about who that person is, if you really think about it, because you're in that journey of figuring out who it is. And so it allows you again to have that conversation. Okay, so you all know I love a makeover in all of this. Actually, let me stop for a second because I've said a lot about the balance and how to use the matrix. Why don't I open up real quick for questions, because after that, I want to use one of the transformations to kind of show how you can have this conversation as well with your value language. So does anybody have any questions about that matrix and where they are and where it is they want to move, or a use case that you would like some advice on? Just wave a hand around if you do. Kylie, did we have any questions in chat or any comments that I should be aware of?
Hi, Joanna, I do have one comment.
Yeah.
So I would recommend anyone want to pivot in their career, not only talk to their boss, but for example, within their organization, talk to the people who they want to be and tag team with that person to help you to understand what opportunity in their team may come up in the next 6-12 months. So you will be on their top list in the future. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Any opportunity, like this is the larger message of everything that I talk about here is in your career adventure, you are in essence a product that you are selling, renting, however you want to call it, to somebody else. And the thing that you are renting and selling to somebody else is your time. And so, and I think about like, if you go through any of the experiences and challenges that we offer at the Amplify Lab and within all of our program, the first thing that we challenge you to do is actually go do market research on the product itself. Go out and find out what it is and have conversations and thinking about like, who are the people who are going to be buying your time in the future, and figuring out like what it is they want, what are the needs that they need to get resolved, what is their perspective about the future, what is the language that they use to describe the roles that they want, all of those sorts of things, really having that future conversation. And it's absolutely not limited to those people around you. So I did see Aaron put a note in there, you have a chat. Do you have a question, Mr. Lindsay? It's lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you as well. I do have a question. I have the opportunity to have that same conversation that you're talking about with the C staff of finance, the CFO at my company, unbeknownst to my manager and his manager. So I'm kind of in a quandary of, he approached me and said, hey, I want to have this career conversation with you. And now I'm nervous of like, how do I put my thoughts in here and be proactive, like you're saying, in reaching that level of conversation without sounding like I've stuck my foot in my mouth.
Well, can I just graduate you up to another level? Because I know you haven't gotten to see some of this, and actually volunteer you to be my transformation person real quick.
Sure.
Thank you. I'm excited because it's been, I don't want to think about how long it has been since you and I had a real conversation, but we are going to go for it. So here's my question about that. And it's really, this is really an interesting use case because you are talking about skip levels. So the CFO approached you. Did he give, well, let me not assume on gender. Are we talking about a he or a she?
It is a he.
It is a he. Okay.
Yes.
Did he give you any context as to why or what the conversation is that he wanted to have, other than a career opportunity or career conversation?
So it started out as basically, hey, you've been here for 4 months, 5 months now. I've heard really good things. I've had numerous people approach me on how great you've been as an asset to the company in that short time. And I really want to talk to you about where you see yourself going and how, he didn't say how he can help me, but how he can, have that conversation with me beyond the conversation we had during the interview cycle.
Well, first of all, huzzah, fantastic. Always good when the multiple skip levels. Is it, just out of curiosity, is there a reason why your boss well, specifically your boss doesn't know about this? Or is it just it's casual?
It's casual, I'm guessing. The CFO, oddly enough, calls me out of the blue occasionally when things are going on and asks for input. He's asked me about like department morale and some very odd conversations for me.
Okay.
Because I'm new and I'm an outsider to the group. I've actually not met anyone because I've been in shelter in place since being hired. So I'm really excited about it, but nervous about how to approach this articulately.
Okay. Well, so first of all, before we get into the confidence curiosity thing, and for those of you, well, actually hand wave, how many of you guys have seen the transformation? I know a bunch of you have. I'm trying to see who the news, okay, awesome. So first of all, before you get into the confidence curiosity thing, I think I would like to understand, like, where are we anchoring on, you're gonna have to unmute yourself, Aaron, because this is a conversation. On what is it you want to be? Because the first question I always ask people on their adventure is, where is it you are wanting to go? What is your ball in this case? Because you are now Cinderella, by the way. Because to be able to get you, like your CFO, to be able to get you somewhere needs to know where it is you want to go. So in this phase of your illustrious career in the finance organization, like, what is your ball changed, or what is the future Aaron wanting to do with his career?
Stepping back, thank you for this. I always fall back on accounts receivable. That's my background. I've been doing it for decades, and we'll leave it at how long. But I want to take it. I at my prior company, I was a director. I had multiple reports. I will say here, I got let go. They did a reorg, but it was also personality conflicts. And Joanna knows my personality, oddly, for good and bad. But I have a strong personality and I know that. So what I've tried to do in this career change is change my approach to problem solving and allow others to be part of the problem solving process.
Okay.
In doing so, my goal is to ultimately help accounts receivable, but also go further into the areas of order to cash, contract management, and kind of being the jack of all trades that I have a skill set in doing, but making sure that I'm not stepping on other groups or other people's toes in doing so, because my personality is rather dominating in a
You do
odd
like
way
to
of saying
fix
that.
things. I do remember. You do like to fix things. You know, I will also say, like, thank you for being really honest on here. And guys, this is like, as you're having conversations with your own personal board of directors, like, I think it's amazing that Erin's being super vulnerable and honest here, because yeah, we do have, I think we're going on nearly 20 years of experience together. We have played at multiple companies. It's been fun. And hearing you talk about what it is you have learned and how you want to evolve with yourself and your decision-making style. Like, you have always been an expert in accounts receivable and the world of that, and have always recognized that. Your perception on not necessarily needing to be the fixer and allowing other people in is really wonderful to hear. And I feel like a proud mama. I'm very happy for you. I want to come back though, because I know this has been part of your story for a really long time. Why is the order to cash thing is the sandbox you want to play in? Like, you have talked about that since 2003, I think. I've allowed you to play in that sandbox a bit, but why is that sandbox interesting to you? What is the pull for you?
I like working with customers, and I'm not a salesperson. I don't sell well, but what I do like to do is listen, and to Joanna's point, problem solve. So I like to hear a customer say, I have XYZ problem, and me go back and say, how do I solve that problem for the customer without, disrupting everything that we do, but being a positive disruptor, and looking at how is this problem, is it unique to just them, or is it systemic? And if it's systemic, is it something that we can change as a group? And can I present it to a group in a larger forum? And I've done a lot of that at almost every company I've been at. I've come in and I've fixed something. I've reorged departments, I've restructured, I brought in systems. I've done all of that from an AR point of view. And I want to take it to that next level and partner with a deal desk or sales operations or, another group and say, hey, the two of us play really well together. I'll use your sandbox analogy. Let's pass the ball back and forth and come up with a better solution. And that's really where I want to go. And I want to show my skills that is what I want to do, whether it be with whatever title I have. That's not important to me. It's more important of the relationships I build and the processes I can help improve.
Yeah. So I am now going to be your mirror for a second. And I do these, for those of you that haven't seen this live before, I do these live so that you can see a real life example of how you can apply some of this thinking to yourself, to other people. Because, and granted, I do have quite a bit of context with Aaron, because I have thrown him in lots of sandboxes before. But I think about, you remember we were talking about the confidence and curiosity thing. Your confidence is, yes, you are an AR expert, whatever. That's like, that you got the day you walked in the door and got the job. I don't think you even need to talk about that anymore. What I heard just now was a really beautiful phrase that described what it is that actually you love to do, which is this whole concept of positive disruption. I can also, now that you have put language to it, understand why sometimes people have been all like, what the hell is Aaron doing and why is he in here screwing with my world? Because the word disruption in itself is like, people are like, no, my world is all good. Stay out of it. Don't mess with my world. I don't need to be disrupted. Like, clearly I love that you said you like to listen, but I can see and hear and now have so much more clarity that the itch that you personally love to scratch is the solve. Like, when you've solved something, you kind of do this, oh, it's fantastic, right?
Yeah.
And I love that you are thinking about the systemic and all of that sort of stuff. So coming back to your original question, you can absolutely bring in that confidence and curiosity matrix. So now I'm going to ask you a very vulnerable question. In the confidence and curiosity quadrant, where do you think you are when it comes to having this conversation with the CFO?
I'm scared to have the conversation, and it's more of my own history, and to be very transparent, I've had really good relationships with some CFOs. I've had really bad relationships with CFOs, and where I find myself succeeding is when I have that positive relationship. I've never had a CFO come to me and say, hey, I want to help you, or I like the tap me on the shoulder kind of thing. And I feel like this is my opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm scared, because I'm scared I'm going to repeat the past. And that's really my hardest challenge is I don't want to do what I did before.
So then I think you can so I know we've got some leaders in the room. And for somebody who's managed a team or is managing a team, who is willing to be my leadership guinea pig for just a second? Okay, so Trish has managed all sorts of big teams, and actually in the sales part of the world, just to give a little bit of background. So Trish, if you had tapped somebody because you saw potential in them, and they came in and they said a little bit of what Aaron just said to you in the early introduction and talked about his nervousness about screwing up an opportunity, how would you react?
About him screwing up the opportunity to talk to you?
How would you react? So if he came in and said, and I'm just going to paraphrase Aaron, he said, I am really excited about this conversation because I haven't had a CFO in my past who has tapped me to have a career opportunity. And in my past, I have, well, I'm not sure I'd even tell you, Aaron, to talk about your past. I'd just say, I'm really nervous about not screwing this up.
I can appreciate that, because he doesn't know if he's being asked to be a spy or if he's being asked to be valued as an asset and to grow. And so I typically like to go on the side of somebody's approached me and that they see my value and they want to make sure that I am staying, growing, and becoming even more of a value to the company. That's how I typically go, because I want to believe that more than anything else. Yeah. But I listen for the other. I do listen for the other.
Sure. Yeah, this is more about less of the worried about what is the manager what is their actual agenda. I too believe in positive agenda and all of this stuff as well. But actually, Aaron, coming in when you bring in the confidence curiosity matrix of actually being a little bit more vulnerable at the beginning and saying, look, this is a new experience for me. This hasn't happened before. And I see this as this conversation as an opportunity. And I really don't want to screw it up.
I've had a couple people come to me with that, because I've been that manager that has tapped people on the side and said, hey, what do you want to do when, next year, 2 years, because you're doing really well what you're doing now, but you're too smart to be staying here. And so I've had those conversations with folks that I very much want to groom and mentor and have them become more valuable to themselves and more valuable to the organization.
Great. Thanks, Trish. I really appreciate your feedback and all of that, because it is, so coming back to that, a little bit of vulnerability at the beginning. And here's how I would react to it. I'd be like, wow, he he's being really open and honest with me at the beginning. And what you can say to him is, in preparation for this conversation, I really thought about not only where do I think I bring value to organizations beyond the work I do in accounts receivables, but what am I excited and curious to do and why? And I want to share that with you. Like, where do I have confidence? And what I have seen in looking at myself and really where I provide value is in an organization is I do this thing that I call positive disruption. And what I mean by that is I literally cannot go a day without looking around not only my world, but other people's world and saying, wow, I hear problems. I want to create solutions to this. And I'm constantly fascinated and excited about how do I fix problems. It's why I love to run accounts receivable teams, because there's always a million problems to be solved. And so many of them require you to just, the very first step, listen to the customer. Where I get really excited is when that positive disruption could actually is systemic and requires us to completely change something. And I'm sharing this with you because this has been who I am and what I've been about throughout my career in whatever projects I'm working in. And I can do this all day, every day with one hand tied behind my back in the AR world. And, you know, I'm here to do that for this organization. What I'm excited and curious to do, and where I see opportunity for myself and for the organization, is to bring this positive disruption thinking to larger parts of the organization. Because when I look at the entire quote to cash cycle, I see opportunities for growth, scale, and eliminating systemic problems throughout the lot. And so really, when I think about how can I help the organization, that's the kind of opportunity I'm looking for. So I've given you, you can now own Positive Disruptor and all of the baggage that comes along with it. It's fine. Because here's the other thing, like, we are who we are, folks, right? I think sometimes, I'm sure Kelly and Kylie would tell you that I'm still a true positive disruptor as well. So I'm going to take your label too. Yeah, look at them both. They're all like, would you please stop already? I'm a bit of a maniac. This is why Erin and I worked hard. But really taking that language and teaching your manager who you are and what you're about, and owning that thing beyond the label of your industry or your expertise and all of that, and using the construct of curiosity and confidence to allow yourself to say, look, this is where it is I want to go, and this is where I can provide value. Now, my guess is, you know, as you have that conversation, say, look, I'm a little nervous about how do I get this right? He's probably, whatever it is, got some sort of agenda in the conversation. It might be just, I just want to see if you're good because you've been here 4 months and I do this with people. It might be just that innocent. It might be, he's got an agenda. I hope not. And it might be just an opportunity to talk about it, but it is an amazing opportunity for you to, in essence, build the brand of this positive disruptor and start having the conversation. Because I also think about, and I'm going to use a very specific example, and why all of you should be like, who is the champion? Because you think about that, every decision made about you is made in a room that you're not in. I know I've said it, 7 times already on this call. The first statement, the first thing is, are you in the consideration set? Like, do they even know who you are? And then what are they saying about you in that room? And that part is where I come back and I say, like, the value adventure, why you need to have language that describes who you are, because when you have that, you can teach the people in the room. And I'm going to use a very specific example because Steve and I sort of had the same boss. We both used to work for a guy named Steve Cakebread. While I technically didn't report into him, I kind of did. And Steve would actually preempt assignments for me with, Joanna is going to come in and basically knock you all down like a bunch of Skittles, and I want you to allow her to do that because if you let her go fast, she will get you to the other side. So be prepared to be bruised, or something to that effect. And what he in essence did for me, because he knew that that was the approach that I used to take to solving problems, because I would mow people down quite a bit, is he would actually clear the path and set the expectation, and not only set the expectation that I was going to bowl through. And Steve and I had a really great relationship, and he really understood not only what I could do, but how I did that. It meant that he was able to set me up for success and potentially eliminate some of my particular personality style and show it as an asset as opposed to a detractor. Because here's the thing, you are who you are, and you are awesome just by yourself. And whether your style is bowl people over like Skittles, which is a little bit of how Aaron and I play, or if actually you're much kinder in your process and get people to buy in along the way and hear everybody's opinions and all of that stuff. Aaron and I are like, too slow, keep moving. Yeah, warning shot for anybody who wants to work with me. It allows your style to be your style, because the reality is it's not just what you do, but who you are when you're doing it. And you can't actually change who you are. That is who you are. And actually figuring out, how do you let people know who that person is so that you can manifest it through, allows you to do the work that is actually important to you and how you go through your adventure. How does that feel for you, Aaron? Do you think you can have that conversation? Are you going to go in and talk about being a positive disruptor?
Yeah, you've given me you've articulated a lot of the things that are in my head. And I appreciate that, and I value that. So thank you.
Awesome. No, you're welcome.
And yeah, I think I am going to go in there. I don't think there's an agenda. I think it's more of a touch point kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go in optimistic and positive, and really take, as you said, the positive disruptor aspect, and spin it in a positive way, without making it sound like I'm going to blow the system up.
You don't have to be quite as dramatic as that.
But I appreciate that, and I appreciate you taking the time to help me through this. So thank you.
No, it's all good. So this is the thing for all of you guys. Like, you can, I'm sure, like, how many of you were like, I related, maybe not to the specifics, but to the tone and the questions that Aaron just kind of went through and what we did. Yeah. This is why I call what you are on an adventure, because it is this combination of, I know what I'm doing, and I also have no idea what I'm doing. And when I sit here and I go, like, what is success at the end of the day for anybody? It's actually figuring out, again, what is that balance, and that perfect isn't the path. Figuring out what that balance is that works for you is the path. I don't think there is a right answer to what is the right balance. I love complete and utter chaos 99% of the time. It's where I thrive. Maybe that's not so much for you, and figuring out what that place is. And so really having a conversation with yourself around, what is it, not only skill-wise that you're confident in doing, but kind of how you do something that you're confident doing, and really having a conversation around, like, what is my operating system? And am I really thinking and optimizing that for me? And then allowing that to allow for the curiosity and excitement, and being clear with other people how you are curious, what you are excited to do, because it's other people that enable you to do that. Because I thought, so, I was talking about, like, what is it you are confident in doing? You're almost building a house of cards for yourself. So I've got a confidence card and I've got a curiosity card, and you've got lots of them. And some of the ones at the bottom of your house of cards are like doors. They're so solid and constructed. And as you move up the mountain of the house of cards of you, they get a little wobblier at the top. But what are those confidence and curiosity marks in your adventure? And understanding that your confidence is as much about what is it you know about you as it is about what is the perception of your value and the confidence of somebody else. Plus, your curiosity and excitement is also mapped to somebody's belief in your ability to do something. So with Quing as an example, like you have very high confidence in science. I have no idea what your confidence is in the marketing world. My guess is you're going to find out. And so within that, does the person who is buying your time, we talk about confidence, believe that your skills in the past will be useful in the future? And the idea of bringing the scientific method to marketing might be an interesting conversation piece, just an idea. And then your curiosity and excitement for the future. So your curiosity about business and marketing, do they believe in your potential there and your ability to learn? And so is there belief in the person you could be? And so looking at, instead of being just a triangle, actually looking at yourself as this diamond, because it's your version and the other person's version of what that is, which is why I come back again to this idea of have these conversations with your adventure guides, with the mirrors in your life, with the potentialists in your life, with the sponsors in your life. And as you're thinking about those, only because I see people playing safe there too, is you remember what Gloria Steinem said, that growth was about making yourself uncomfortable. I also challenge you in these conversations is try to have, like you're down there, Erin is, try to have this conversation with somebody who scares you a little. Because it's the people who scare you a little that will allow you to grow. And as long as you're coming in with what is the language that you want, like what is the memory you want them to live with, same thing, right? Like, and in Erin's case, I sit here and I go, if nothing happens with this conversation with the CFO, but he remembers that Erin is known for positive disruption, then winning, absolute winning across the board. Because a brand is not built overnight. You don't change somebody's mind about somebody overnight. It's that consistent idea over time. So you sit here and say, like, what is your version of a language that you are trying to cover? So we've run a tiny bit over. As usual, I've talked too long. Let me just throw this out there and see if anybody has any more questions before we let everybody go for the day. Kylie, do we have anything else from chat?
No questions in the chat.
Awesome. Well, do absolutely email us anytime at hello@the-amplify-lab if you do have questions, and they can be questions about anything. We are always, I write sometimes about questions that come in about situations and what have you. Also remember, if we haven't already dropped it in the chat already, if you're like, yeah, Joanna, that was fantastic, but I have no idea what my language is and I don't know. We have two really distinct different adventures that we offer to people. One is, they're both the value adventure. One is directly one-on-one with me. You get an hour of my time. We go nuts. There is pre-work. It's intense and we are fast. You can learn about that on joannabloor.com. We also have the virtual value adventure, which is 4 challenges over anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks. You choose how long you want to go, which also give you free access to a Friday morning challenge show. I think we only had, 2 people show up this morning. We've got a couple of hundred people going through the experience, and we had not a lot of people show up. So they got a lot of personal attention. So you can go through that experience as well. And I know Kylie's going to share the link with you on how you can go through that as well. Do also remember that if you want to come, we are going to be doing the standard, if there is such a thing with me, how do you answer the question, what do you do show next week. It's free. And so that is up and ready for registering. Also a great opportunity to bring friends. And then last but not least, Kylie, are you ready to do your thing?
I'm ready.
Awesome. As you have all heard or read, we do give away one-on-one session at every single one of these shows. And so we've thrown all of your names in the bucket.
And here we go.
Spin the wheel and see who our winner is this week.
I think this is such a great graphic wheel.
Isn't it the best?
I think so. I'm going to have to learn how to make it.
So Leonore, congratulations. I think this is your first time on the show, right? Oh, we can't hear you.
Yes, yes, it is.
Awesome. Well, we will be sending you an email in the next 24 hours with how it works and what's going to happen and how to schedule your session. We will be doing one of those 1 hour one-on-ones. And I am looking forward to meeting you and getting to know about how we can help you and what adventure you are on. But with that, I want to give shout out to Trish and Nolan and Aaron for being awesome volunteers this week. You guys are great. And good luck with your adventure and figuring out the future you. Bye, guys. Ultimately, we're here to help you figure out how to teach other people who the future you is so that you can be you in the future. Because the clearer you are about who you are, what you want, and teach other people why that's awesome, the more likely you get to be you. I know, it's a bit of a circle. I'm Joanna, your potentialist and fairy godmother, and I wish you the very best. Thanks for coming.